Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am so glad you're here with us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We do know that it's the holiday season, so we are so grateful that you were able to take some time out to be a part of this webinar. My name is Damilola Akinshola, and I'm going to be your host for the next 75 minutes. But before we dive into all the good stuff, I just want to let you know that we have a whole lot of conversation that we have prepared for you today. And I genuinely believe that it's going to change the way you think about one of the biggest risks sitting in your organization right now. So before we start, a few housekeeping notes. This session would be recorded. So if at some point in time you couldn't hear what we said, or some of you who were not able to join this webinar, we would be sending the link to you so you can share with your colleagues who missed it or have a rerun of the webinar. And secondly, the chat session is open for you, and that is because we want to hear from you. So kindly drop your names, drop your organizations, where you're joining from. We want to know who we have joining us today, and we want to make this as interactive as possible. And of course, we have a live Q&A at the end. So if you have questions that you've been keeping in your mind for a really long time and you just didn't know who to ask, I believe that this is the perfect area and avenue for you to do so. So do not feel like your questions are a little bit, not good enough. Most of the conversations that we've had always come from questions people were afraid to ask. All right. So, and also, please do ensure you stay to the end. We have something special for those who stay till the end of the webinar. Great. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I would love to introduce the team behind today's session, because without them, this webinar would not be happening right now. And I really mean it. So, first things first, my name is Dami. Like I mentioned earlier, I heard the programs and strategy department at Go to Cyber, and Go to Cyber was established as a result of what we have seen in the African security landscape today. So we exist to help African organizations understand the human side of cyber risk, and, of course, build teams that are very resilient and not just technically compliant. And with me today, I have Esther Ogechi, who is one of the co-founders of Go to Cyber. And of course, today she's going to be joining us as a subject matter expert. And she is a very brilliant mind. I have gotten to work with her on some personal projects, and I can tell you for sure that you're going to be hearing a lot of insightful ideas and thoughts from her. So, Esther, do you want to say a quick hello to our audience?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Esther Okechi, and like Dami rightly, introduced, I basically head the business development department here at Go to Cyber, and I'm also one of the co-founders. So it's so great to have you join us today, and I'm looking forward to having engaging sessions and just getting to know everyone that we have join us for this webinar. So thank you so much, and let's get into it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Esther, for that wonderful and, succinct intro. Esther is having a little bit of technical issues with her camera. That's why she is not on cam now, but we're trying to figure out how to get that fixed. So kindly bear with us. And of course, we have someone very special with us today as well. And she has been a very integral member of Go to Cyber and has been very instrumental in planning this webinar. And she's no other person than Onyeye Nwani. So I'd love Onyeye to introduce herself to you as well. Onyeye, you have the floor, please.
Yeah. Hello everyone. My name is Onye. I'm the community manager of GoToTraba, and I'm managing community aspect of GoToTraba, supporting and engaging with members in the community, in our cyber security community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. That was really great. Thank you so much, Onyeye, for the work you do. I go to Cyber. We are really, really honored to have you on our team. And we also have a very special guest joining us later in this session. Someone whose perspective I think is going to genuinely surprise some of you. And I'm going to tell you more about him in a moment. So let's get into it. Now, if you look at the topic of our webinar, let me quickly bring that back on stage, which is human risk management. Why security awareness alone is no longer enough. You might ask, well, why would they say that? Why would they say security awareness alone is no longer enough? And that is understandable because most people today think hackers break into systems, right? But most of the successful hackers in history, if you watched documentaries or you've read the news, you know that most of these hackers never touched a system at all. And what they did was they hacked the people using these systems. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Now, between 2013 and 2015, employees at Google and Facebook were tricked into wiring over $100 million to a scammer who had simply impersonated one of their trusted vendors. Now, the invoice looked so normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary. The emails looked so legitimate. And the vendor name was someone that they knew, right? It was so familiar. So the payments kept going out without suspicion whatsoever. So they were sending a few millions, 10 millions there and all of that. So by the time someone actually was able to take a step back to ask, wait, where is this money even going to? Where is this money actually going to? They already lost about $100 million, right? And during this whole process, there was no server that was hacked, no sophisticated hacking tools were used, and it was just someone who was able to convincingly craft an email and employees who had no reason to doubt what was in front of them because they felt it was legitimate. So I want you to think about this. These are two of the most valuable companies in the world, Google and Facebook. They have the money, they have the budget to invest in the best technology, security tools, best security teams, right? But they lost that money because their technology didn't fail them. They lost it because someone understood how to manipulate people. And that is one of the most uncomfortable thing that we have had to face in the cybersecurity landscape industry today. And organizations around the world, maybe your organizations as well, are investing a lot of money in cybersecurity. You're investing a lot of money in firewalls, you're investing a lot of money in encryption tools, access controls, what have you. And these are good things. These are really good things. But yet, we notice that these breaches are not going down, right? Fraud is not going down. We have a lot of data to back this up that we have seen, but I believe Esther would touch more on that. So, the bottom line is the most sophisticated attack today is not the network, it's not the technology, it's human behavior. And today, that is exactly what we are here to talk to you about. So, if I were to ask some of you today, how many of you right now have some kind of security awareness training program in your organization? Something that you do maybe quarterly, yearly? I believe most of you would say yes, you do, because you have a security team that handles that. However, if I was to put it to you and ask how many of you today can tell me with confidence that this program you have put in place actually works? I'm sure you might not be able to provide a genuine answer to that. So that's the gap, basically. That's the gap that exists between having a program in place and knowing if it works. And that is where a lot of organizations sit today. And this is what we are going to explore today. So I'm not going to waste so much time because Esther has prepared an amazing presentation where she's going to talk to us about um, this particular issue that I have, you know, set the stage for. So without wasting much time, I'd love to bring Esther on stage. And Esther, you're on, please.
All right. Okay, excuse me. I think I still have my other laptop here because I was trying to, see if I can join. Ah, okay. Just give me some time, please. All right.
All right,
I
that's
think
fine.
it's okay. Thank you. I think it's much better now. So, please, can you bring up my slide? If yeah. All right, so welcome everyone once again and good morning. So today, without wasting much of our time, because Dami has done a lot of introduction and she has spoken in depth on why cybersecurity awareness alone is simply not enough. So today I'll be bringing this home and basically speaking to the CISOs that we have on ground, the IT security leaders, the head of compliance, you name it, those who are basically in charge of ensuring that the organization is one secure and that all the investments that they are putting towards building or basically towards improving the human security factor is actually resulting into something that is basically valuable to the organization. So that's what I'll be speaking to, and that's what my slides basically will be speaking to as well. So okay. So I'll be, switching between both screens because I'm trying to ensure that, this goes as seamless as possible, right? So uh, to get into it, for today's presentation and webinar, basically we'll be looking at, first of all, the statistics around, cybercrime in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. And, after that, we'll be jumping into the Nigerian threat landscape in 2026, what we are seeing at the moment, what is happening within, Africa as a continent and specifically in Nigeria, what the type of attack vectors, how these attackers are able to propagate these attacks and carry out some of these outrageous you know cybersecurity attacks that we've been hearing about. Also, we'll be jumping deep into why awareness training alone is failing. I think this is the core of what we'll be discussing today. So, buckle up. We have a whole lot to learn, and I hope that I'm able to, enlighten us on why in 2026 awareness alone is not enough to ensure that an organization is secure, right? We'll also be comparing, global standards like ISO 27001, NIST, SOC 2, you name it, and also local standards like NDPR, CBN, cybersecurity frameworks, so that we can compare it to what we currently have and see if the practice currently is in line with the global standards, basically. I don't know, I can't see my screen anymore. Okay, thank you. All right. Also, we'll be looking at the cost of not doing anything. It's quite risky that there are organizations out there who do not, basically invest in even awareness alone. Right? There are organizations who don't think that investing in cybersecurity awareness training is vital to an organization. So we'll be discussing the cost of an organization not doing anything when it comes to securing the human or, improving the human firewall within the organization. And lastly, I'll be taking us through how we can go from awareness to human security management, which is the topic of our webinar today. So thank you so much once more for joining us. I'll keep it brief because I have, I think, about 20 minutes or thereabouts. So let's just get into it, right? So about GoToCyber, and like Dami rightly mentioned, we basically founded this organization to bridge the gap that we've seen within the cybersecurity industry, which is that many organizations, focus on technology, they focus on their processes, but in some way, the people who are supposed to manage the technology and the processes are not being looked into, they're not being invested into, and that is why, GoToCyber exists to help organizations to strengthen their cybersecurity, the human side of the cybersecurity, right? So getting into it, I know you can see my screen. I'm sure everyone can see my screen. Right. All right. Thank you. So basically, I have 4 numbers on my screen. And these numbers are speaking to, statistics around what we are seeing in cybersecurity globally. So on my screen, we have that about 4.8 million was the average cost of a data breach globally. And now this is coming from IBM, and this is, data from 2024. So you can basically see that this is not the case anymore. This is the number keeps increasing, the percentage keeps rising, and that is indicating that there's increase in cyber attacks and cyber threats. So the second number I have on the screen is speaking to, that about 90% of these breaches that we are seeing involves human error. So that, 90% can be vague. I'm saying that about 9 out of 10 of these cyber attacks and these breaches are caused by human error. Now, that is a very large number when you look at it holistically. And, bringing it back home, Nigeria has ranked the 3rd when it comes to cybercrime exposure in Africa. So number 3. That is also quite, a number when we look at what is currently happening around the world. And that also we are seeing that there's like an increase of phishing attack we are seeing a 614% increase in cyber attacks from 2023 to 2025. Now that is, so, when you look at it, it's quite crazy because 614%, not 61%. That's a whole lot when it comes to attacks that we are seeing within Nigeria and within Africa. So that's is a cause for concern, and it's something that we believe that organizations should be actively looking into if they are looking at if they hope to secure their organization going forward. So also bringing this back home, we see a lot of numbers when it comes to Nigeria. I'll just read them out because of time. But we are seeing that, Nigeria is estimated to lose about 847 billion naira. That's about $530 million annually to cybercrime. So that's a GDPR for an entire nation, and that is something that is being estimated to be lost to cybercrime alone. And we are seeing that NITSA has reported, an increase of about 1,300 cybersecurity incidents in Nigeria, within Nigerian organization in 2023. And the banking and finance sector has contributed and accounts for 42% of these incidents. Now, why did I put in the banking and finance, sector, or why did I choose to basically create data around them? These are organizations that focus on and invest in cybersecurity awareness trainings. So this is showing that training in alone and awareness training alone is not enough for organizations. It is vital that we also build a culture around cybersecurity and try to imbibe it into the organization and ensure that everyone at every point is doing what they should do basically within the organization. So, okay, I think because I have to move from slide to slide, it's kind of confusing for me, but I'll try to get a hang of it basically. So, yeah, bringing it also back home, we are seeing that, for the financial fraud cases, there's a 68% increase when it comes to business email compromise attacks. So obviously, I don't know if we are aware of what BEC is all about, but that's phishing on a high level. So it's when they target, businesses, your CEOs, the head of organizations to carry out cyber attacks and cyber threats. So that is to show you that this number keeps increasing. It's not just static, it's an increasing percentage, right? So there is also, a 3 times increase in ransomware targeting Nigerian hospitals, government agencies, fintech since 2023. So if it was 3 times in 2023, now we are seeing like about 6 times. So it also speaks to the fact that we need to basically invest not just in awareness, but in also building cultures around cybersecurity within organizations. Right? We are also seeing that 82% of Nigerian employees have clicked on phishing links, whether it be a test or it just be like an actual attack. We are seeing that a lot of individuals, while they are still building their knowledge and awareness about cybersecurity, sometimes do fall prey to these attacks. Right? And also for the last number that I have on my screen is speaking to insider threats. Now, these are people within your organization. These are people that you trust. So about 34% of breaches in Nigeria have been linked to actions from or emanating from, their staff, vendors and partners within the organization. That's speaking to phishing, bypassing of controls and basically selling out credentials. Yeah. So why exactly is awareness failing, and what can we do about it, right? How can we elevate, basically or how can we move from awareness to ensuring that everyone is making this their day-to-day responsibility, and that is what cybersecurity culture is all about, right? So number one, why we are seeing that awareness is failing is because we as organizations are treating cybersecurity awareness as a checkbox, right? So we have compliance requirements that we need to adhere to. We have global standards that we are looking at, just adhering to as well and being in compliance with. A lot of organizations just carry out these trainings to ensure that, okay, we've done it and it's during internal audit or external audits, we can say, okay, we can present data that speaks to the fact that awareness was carried out without even looking at, okay, what was the result of these trainings that were carried out, were there statistics around, the employees reporting attacks, being able to identify attacks and all what's not, right? So we are looking at cybersecurity awareness as checkbox within organizations at the moment. And also, awareness trainings are being looked at as a one-size-fits-all, in the sense that many organizations are tailoring these trainings to just be a general awareness, and it's not being specific to roles, it's not being specific to industries, and it's not addressing the specific threats that are facing those organizations. Also, we are seeing that organizations are much more focused on carrying out annual awareness training, whether it's to meet regulatory requirements or just to satisfy, their partners, to satisfy stakeholders and leaders within the organization. So a lot of people are investing in cybersecurity awareness, I can tell you for that. But what is the return on investment when it comes to those to those investments that are being made around training staffs or individuals within organizations? How does that account to improving the security awareness culture within the organization? Also, most of these trainings basically are not relevant to us as Africans, to the threats that we are facing within our organizations, and it does not relate to what we see on a day-to-day basis. So that is why most awareness trainings are failing, and that is why organizations are not being able to basically see results after carrying out awareness trainings. So I'll try to rush through this because, we still have a whole lot coming on after my presentation. But basically, another reason why awareness is failing within our country, within our nation, within Africa as a whole, is because there is no measurement beyond completion rate. So you see, during leadership, trainings, or rather during these leadership meetings, CISOs just basically come to say, oh, okay, we are 95% of the staffs have completed the trainings. So no one is speaking to the fact that, okay, was the phishing simulation done? How many of these staffs or these individuals clicked on those phishing links? What was the result in terms of if these trainings that were carried out were actually instrumental in increasing the awareness of these individuals when it comes to cyber attacks? Also, there is, we are excluding leaders when it comes to these cybersecurity trainings. A lot of organizations just train their staffs, maybe management at most, but the main people who are supposed to overlook the whole process are being left out. And that is why, we are seeing a lot of phishing being targeted at leaderships and also people within the leadership capacity in an organization. And also, a lot of staff can also look at cybersecurity awareness as something that shows their weaknesses, in the sense that when employees, they click on links, they do something that they shouldn't have, they basically get scared of what the outcome could be, and they tend to hide these mistakes from the people that should take actions to mitigate them. So that is why we are also seeing a lot of awareness trainings failing. We are not basically upholding the culture of people speaking out, people reporting these issues and not being punished or not being shamed for clicking on links and basically doing what they are not supposed to do. Right. So these are the reasons why awareness is failing within organizations. And on my next slide, we are also going to look at the global standard versus what we are seeing in Nigeria at the moment. So, like I mentioned, a lot of organizations are chasing regulatory requirements. They are trying to stay compliant with, the regulatory standards, both global, local and internal requirements. And they're not looking at, okay, how does this basically improve the culture around cybersecurity within our organization? So we are seeing that organizations are, when it comes to, ISMS and other standards, they are focused on just trainings and not seeing that, they should be documented, role-based and measurable outcomes when it comes to these cybersecurity trainings. For NDPR mandates that, data handling trainings should be done for staff and personnel that have access to these data, right? But what organizations are doing is basically to tick the box, like I said. So the checkbox culture, rather, that we've seen within organizations in Nigeria. We are just trying to, make sure that we fulfill all righteousness and just keep it moving from there. So CBN is also mandating that, we carry out regular phishing simulations, ensure that there are incident response drills, and also that at the end of the day, there's board level reporting structure in place. But we are seeing currently that once, a simulation is done, maybe once or twice a year, it is buried within the IT department, basically, and the board never gets to see the results of these simulations and these drills. And which, because of this, we are not seeing an increased level of change when it comes to staff behavior, when it comes to, the security culture within organizations as a whole, right? And lastly, I have the NIST cybersecurity framework, which mandates that, cybersecurity culture is a, continuous thing, right? That awareness trainings are being carried out continuously, and that there should be a way to track the outcomes of these trainings. But what we are seeing mostly within organization is that we are just adopting whatever these industry requirements, these standards they are saying, without actually seeing how it's basically affects our organization and how we can move ahead from that and see changes when it comes to staff behavior and how they behave around cybersecurity and cybersecurity incidents, right? So yeah, I think I should give it a pause. I don't know if anyone has a question, if we are looking at making contributions or anything. I think I'm a little bit rushed, and but yeah, we are getting a hang of it. So do we have any questions in the chat box, or should I just move ahead with my presentation?
I think you can move ahead. We don't currently have questions, so I think they can just drop their questions in the chat and we can take all of the questions at the end of the session.
Okay, that's great. So moving ahead, what is the cost of not doing anything, and what will your organization be losing if actions are not being taken? Right? So we are seeing that, again, the annual cost of cybercrime is like around 847 billion naira. And that is, estimated to 2024. So in 2026, we are seeing that, these numbers keep increasing. And if nothing is being done about it, many organizations will start shutting down as a result of cyber attacks and cyber threats. Right, we are seeing that also that it takes an average Nigerian business 21 days to recover from a downtime. So that means for 21 days, you won't be able to offer your critical business activities or be able to serve your end customers for 21 days because of a downtime or a cybersecurity attack. Now, that is a long, long time to not be in business. So a lot of organizations currently, actually, I would say that there's been improvement when it comes to business continuity planning and also seeing ways that we can mitigate and reduce these downtimes to a considerable maybe period of time. Right, we are seeing also that about 67% of small and medium enterprises suffer a major cybersecurity breach in like 6 months. So within 6 months, there's like, attacks being carried out on a number of organizations within Nigeria. So I don't know if that if that ticks something for you, because for me, now I'm seeing that, oh, okay, how can we move from just awareness alone? Because we are seeing that, these awareness trainings are basically being carried out to fulfill one requirement or the other. They are not actually resulting into something that we can track and something that, can lead to organizations not being susceptible to these attacks. Also, I think I'll just move ahead to how we can move from just cybersecurity awareness to ensuring that this is an ongoing cultural thing within an organization, and how we can basically strengthen the human firewall within our organizations. So what have we been doing all this while? Many organizations have been focused on, annually ticking the training box. We've been focused on generic global content that are not basically being adopted to what we are seeing within Africa and Nigeria. We are seeing that we are just focused on, KPIs and improving the completion rate of trainings, and not actually the result of those trainings. A lot of organizations, sometimes punish those who fail. Maybe they click on a phishing test, and probably, at the end of the day, they get reported to management, and there's a lot of phobia around actually even reporting these attacks, right? And also, a lot of organizations think that cybersecurity awareness should just be focused on IT and the IT department alone. And also, lastly, we are seeing that, there's this culture of just carrying out the cybersecurity awareness and not, maybe thoroughly into what we have, and also probably ensuring that this results into something that is beneficial to our organizations, right? So what are we advising you to do as an organization, and what, basically are we speaking to today when it comes to how organizations can manage their human risk, right? So we are looking at basically training you on how you can move from the awareness culture alone to a continuous cybersecurity improvement culture, right? So we are ensuring and we are educating you on how to not just focus on ticking the box, but actually to ensure that this results to a valuable change within your organization. So here we are going to be advising you on how you are going to go ahead to build a cybersecurity awareness culture that is lasting and that is productive within your organization. So number one, we are saying that, you should focus on continuous trainings and not just annual training alone, right? Don't just focus on ticking the box. It should be something that is continuous. I mean, we are human beings. We ingest a lot of data. We ingest a lot of things on a daily basis. And if this awareness are not being carried out, from time to time continuously, we see that we tend to forget what, the last training even focused on and what we were taught within those trainings, right? Also, we should make sure that when we, try to train these employees and people within our organization, that is focused to the Nigerian threat landscape, and also that it is role-based. We are training them around what they are seeing on a day-to-day within their function and within, their department in the organizations, right? And we should also focus on the human risk core per employee and department. So when we look at risk management and just carrying out risk assessment in general, sometimes we assign scores to some individuals when it comes to, them being a threat or being like a way that threat actors can, penetrate into our organization. We attach basically some scores to these employees and ensure that, at the end of the day, we kind of review those scores and see if they improve after each training, and if, whatever is being imbibed in them or whatever the training is being focused on, that it results into, reduction in risk and also improvement of cybersecurity awareness culture. right? Also, we should focus on ensuring that, and basically encouraging employees to come forward and speak whenever they have issues or whenever they've fallen prey to these attacks. We should also ensure that there's a culture around people being able to report, maybe when an incident is being carried out. Because, I mean, the reporting of an incident is the first phase when it comes to incident management. So if something happens and everybody keeps quiet, then we are unable to even see the root cause of those issues and how we can go about mitigating those threats and those vulnerabilities, right? Also, we should ensure that our trainings are not maybe just generic, that they are focused on the roles within the organizations, and also that the board level have a level of accountability, and that they are in charge of ensuring that cybersecurity is something that is being adopted by everyone within the organization. And also, our cybersecurity awareness shouldn't be focused on awareness training shouldn't be focused on awareness alone. They should be focused on improving our behaviors and also transforming the organization when it comes to cybersecurity cultures, right? So lastly, I'll just basically run us through what we've been talking about for the past 20 or thereabout minutes. So what are the key takeaways from this particular presentation, and what do I think organizations should start doing as it stands now, and how organizations can basically move from the awareness training culture alone to just something that is that leads to change in behavior, and also ensures that the organizations are not being susceptible to some of these attacks that could have been prevented. So number one, awareness training is not enough. So I think that is, been made clear over the period of, time that I've been present, and we should focus on ensuring that human behaviors are being improved, because that is the real attack surface. Also, Nigerian organizations should not just be focused on complying with standards, regulatory requirements. They should also be looking at minimizing and managing the human risk within the organization, right? We also need to focus on continuous, measurable, and role-based programs, not just trying to, tick the checkbox and just keep it moving from there. We should ensure that these trainings are continuous, these trainings are measurable, basically to have like a smart approach to our cybersecurity awareness trainings. Also, we should look at our leadership as some of the people that pose the highest risk within the organizations. So when we, plan these awareness programs, we should not exclude senior management, maybe because they are busy or they have other things to attend to. They are also human beings within the organization, and they also make up the human firewall within organizations. So when we conduct awareness trainings, we should make sure that they are included and that we do not exempt them for one reason or another. And also, we should ensure that there's a culture of individuals and staff and employees being able to basically come forward to report when there is a cybersecurity incident, right? Because that's the only way we can ensure that first, we are mitigating these attacks promptly, and that also that at the end of the day, there are lessons learned, and that those lessons learned also form part of the trainings that we'll be carrying out as the year goes by, right? So it's not a big deal that somebody makes a mistake. It's actually much more worse or impactful when those mistakes are not being reported. So thank you so much for your time. I think this is where I end my presentation for today. I don't know if we have questions, but I guess we'll be addressing those questions after the or when we have the conversation with our guest speaker, our amazing guest speaker who will be coming up next to speak on these particular topics. So thank you so much, and I hope you learned a thing or two. And hopefully, you can stay around to hear more about how we can move from just cybersecurity awareness to building like a culture that basically leads to change within organizations. So thank you so much. And Dami, I think this is where I hand over to you. Hi,
All
Dami.
right. Thank you so much, Esther. That was a very, very insightful presentation. I know that I learned something from it and I was taking notes all through your presentation. I also want to believe that the audience also gained quite a lot from that amazing presentation. I think for me, the numbers are quite staggering. The statistics keep pointing to the fact that this is an imminent issue. This is something that organizations, um, not just in Africa alone, but across the globe, need to start paying more attention to. They need to move away from, you know, the tick the box training or trainings just for compliance purposes to trying to change behavioral change. And I believe that's the only way that human risk management can actually happen. So, another thing I was able to pick up from your presentation, I actually picked a lot, but another thing I was able to pick up from your presentation is the fact that the leadership, especially what we have seen happen um, with organizations, is that they are not usually included in these trainings. I believe they just like say, "Oh, okay, yeah, we have a training coming up. Just give it to the staff," but they do not include themselves in these exercises, and that's a big failure point because these leaders, if you are a leader and you're listening to this, you need to understand that you are a major target for attackers out there. So if you're excluding yourself from trainings, from understanding how to protect yourself, then there is a loophole. There is a failure point in your organization which you need to pay attention to. So thank you so much, Esther. Every time I hear that breakdown, I am reminded of how much the landscape has shifted, and I think you did great justice to the topic. Right. And I believe that the audience can now see that security awareness alone is no longer enough for them. So if you have questions, I'm sure you have questions, you can drop them in the chat and we will take them after our fireside chat with our guest speakers so we do not run out of time. So thank you so much once again, Esther. Now, I think we need to move on to our guest speaker. I promised you someone special, and I think it's time to deliver on that promise, right? So, we have spent the last 30 minutes or so looking at the problem from a data and threat perspective, but I want to bring in a voice that approaches this from a different angle because honestly, this is the angle that matters most. The truth is, you can have all the cybersecurity tools in the world, but if your organization does not have a culture, just like Esther rightly mentioned during our presentation, where people feel accountable, where they understand what is at stake, and where security is something that is genuinely part of how things are done, none of this is going to work. And that is the fact. None of the things that you have learned today will work for you if you do not build a culture into your organization that enhances the security aspect. And that is fundamentally a people and culture question, which is exactly the professional territory of our guest today. So, without wasting much time, I will bring in our guest on stage right now. But before I do so, I would, just tell you a little bit about who our guest is, so you can know why we, of course, had to bring him in. So, Precious Mogaji is a human resource specialist, and he has expertise of over 7 years of experience at the intersection of people, strategy, and business performance. He has worked with organizations, helped build HR systems, improved retention, scaled talent pipelines, and drive operational efficiency across industries. And combining the practical HR experience he has, he focuses on human behavior as a key driver of organizational risk. Basically, this means that he helps them move from being reactive to being proactive. And interestingly, he holds an MBA in human risk, and he is a PHRI certified professional. So, of course, we had to search for the best person we know would give you the insightful thoughts that you seek. So without wasting much time, I'd like to bring on Precious Morgaji on stage. Precious, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. And hello, Dami. And hello, Esther. Wonderful presentation. I was following and taking notes. In fact, I think I will speak from my notes when I do get a chance to speak. Um, yes, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for honoring the invitation. We're super honored to have you here. And I'm so sure that our guests can,
Hi, Tommy. I
our
think
audience rather cannot wait to
you
hear
are
what you have.
muted if you're speaking. I don't know. Precious, can you hear her?
Yes, I can hear Dami. I can hear Dami
Oh,
clearly.
okay. Then it has to be from my end. Okay.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure our audience cannot wait to hear what you have today for us. So um, let's kick this rolling. Let's get started. And I think I'd like to, you know, just start from the fact that you have worked with organizations across industries as an HR practitioner,
Okay.
and
Can you hear?
you. Hello, yeah, I can
Just
hear
a
you, Precious.
quick network check. Um, all right. You can hear me clearly and you can see me.
Yes, I can hear you, and I can see you.
Awesome. Awesome. I've been thinking about the best way to start this, especially since Esther has given us the numbers behind all of this. And since I'm looking at it from the people perspective, I can tell you this for sure. And I want you to listen to this and listen to this clearly. The most dangerous person to your organization, especially when it comes to security, is not the hacker sitting in the basement somewhere. It is most likely that employee that means well, works hard, but has no idea that what they just did has put your entire business at risk. And that is really the foundation of where everything is. It's where the problem is, and it's what opens the doors to the hackers. Now, I know that we're going to go, we're going to go properly into this, we're going to go deeply into this, but I wanted to let this out from the very start, and then we can take it up from there.
Thank you. I think that was quite a very good
Are you saying
you
something,
know,
Dami?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so thank you so much for pointing that out, and I believe that's a very great, start to this fireside chat. So, I think where I would like to start from is, just basically coming from your experience. I want you to be very honest. I want you to, talk from what you have seen happen in the organizations that you've worked. All right. So, let's start with the big picture from where you see it as an HR practitioner, and as an HR professional who um, what Okay, what does human risk actually look like inside African organizations today, right? And if you don't mind telling us if that picture has changed at all in the last few years.
Okay. Honestly, and when I say honestly, I'm speaking from the experience that I have from different organizations. I think that most African organizations are trying. They're trying their best to create systems that make things closed, make it difficult for things to slip through the cracks. We build close communication systems. You see that in most organizations now, you get a work laptop. From that work laptop, you cannot necessarily put on a flash drive or install some applications. You have restricted file transfers. Most organizations use CRMs to control where the data lives. The intention is there and the infrastructure is there. But even with all of this, even with all that has changed, and even with all of the improvement that has been made, we are still very much at risk. What do I think has happened? I want you to picture this, like picture this, so you understand how very simple things are the problems that we still have. So a sales executive needs to send a proposal to a client, right? The official process requires, generating the proposal with invoices on the sales CRM, uploading this to a shared drive, and then generating a link and then sending this through the company email. This takes maybe 8 minutes to do all of this. But this sales executive uh, prefers to do this through her personal WhatsApp because it takes about 30 seconds or 1 minute. And so she sends it on WhatsApp. The client gets it and the deal moves forward. Nobody says anything. But that document that contains client's name, contains pricing, contains business terms, RC number, account details, is now sitting on the personal phone, on the personal number, and on a server that the company has zero control over. Now multiply that by every employee on our team doing the same thing every week. And you realize that it is not a technology or infrastructure failure. It is just a human behavior pattern that the organization has quietly tolerated before it becomes the norm. And that really is the problem that we have in African organizations this day. That is what human risk looks like in African organizations today. What I would say is, and I say this all the time, if it is easy, it is probably risky. If it feels like it is frictionless, that is most likely where the vulnerability lies. And what has changed in the past 2 to 3 years? Well, remote and hybrid work has come into play a whole lot more. And it did not create a new risky behavior. No, it just took a behavior that was manageable inside a physical office and then spread it across personal devices, home networks, and information communication channels with no visibility and no oversight. And so the risk grew because people are now in spaces where they can allow themselves to become more comfortable that way. And that is what has changed for us. And this is why awareness alone will not carry the weight. If there is a behavior pattern problem, then it is something deeper, something that I like to call subliminal integration. And I think that we'll come to it as we speak. How exactly do we fix the behavior pattern and ensure that we take away that risk from our organizations?
Thank you so much. I think that was quite insightful. Understanding the fact that we need to start moving from what we consider easy. I think I like the aspect of you saying, if it's easy, then, it's probably something you want to double check, right? I think what you described really connects to something that we see consistently. Organizations, are often investing in the right tools, but most times leave the human layer almost completely unmanaged. And the attack surface is someone who receives the email, like you mentioned, answers the phone, approves payments, and that person has never been trained or, for something that, has evolved. So the risk that we currently face is now exacerbated by the fact that remote work now is very common compared to how it was like 5 years ago. So I think that was quite insightful. Esther, do you have anything you want to add to what Precious has said? Maybe from the security aspect.
Apologies for that. So, like I mentioned, I'm trying to, join from two separate systems, and it's been causing a whole lot of issues. But I think I do agree with Precious on, every aspect or every angle that he actually spoke to this particular topic from. It's a thing where, we are being made comfortable to think that some behaviors should be accepted within the organizations. And, this is also from the management level, because most of these activities are being carried out from the, you see, leadership, someone from the leadership maybe trying to connect from their telephone, or trying to assess some of the things that maybe has been shared by the team member. They might even be like, "Oh, can you send it through WhatsApp? I don't have time to go."
Yes,
You know what I mean?
WhatsApp is the killer.
So it's just a thing. It's a cultural thing. It's something that we should also look at from the top to the bottom. So I do think that Precious actually spoke to this in a very, very much broader aspect or stethoscope. So thank you so much, Precious.
Yeah, I do think so as well. And I think that brings us to another question, which is where do you see organizations getting the people's side of security most wrong? And what does that even cost them in practice? So, do you have anything you'd like to say as to why you think, or the aspects in which organizations keep making mistakes when it comes to the human side of cybersecurity, and what consequences that has, you know, accrued
Hmm.
to them?
So when you were asking the question, I was thinking back to Esther's presentation, and I think that Esther already touched on this. So I'm just going to pick up from there to say the truth of the matter is where almost all organizations get it wrong is that we treat security more like an item, more like an event rather than a cultural issue. So you have one training a year, one memo, one email from IT, and then everywhere goes silent until something goes terribly wrong. And you see, by the time something goes terribly wrong, the cost is heavy. And that is really where we get it wrong. Organizations want to fix, they want to Organizations want to fix issues with security, but they don't want to treat it as a cultural issue. They want to treat it as a one training a year issue. But that is not going to solve a problem. And I'm going to give you a real example of something like this that I have seen. Now, this is not exactly cybersecurity, but I think that we can draw parallels from this. Now, earlier in my career, very early in my career, I led a health and safety culture initiative for a team. Now, this was a manufacturing team, right? And one of the things that I realized was that before I did this, before I joined this organization, they had a lot of health and safety programs, but it just didn't resonate. And so what did we do? We did not rely on one training. Instead of that, we put safety slogans everywhere people looked. We identified and publicly celebrated people who were safety champions. We make sure that if you model the right safety behavior, we give them recognition in front of their peers. We ran monthly team conversations where the team by themselves will gather together. It wasn't a lecture. They would sit among themselves, all of the guys in the engineering team, and say, "Oh, how did you do this? What was the safer way to do it?" And this was a conversation that they would have among themselves. What happened after we did this consistently for a 3 month to 6 month period is that the team stopped seeing safety as an imposed rule and started seeing it as something that they owned. They began to police each other. They would flag each other. You someone will say, "Hey, that is not the safe way to do it. You should know this. This is not HR doing this. This is the people by themselves." And they started bringing ideas to the monthly sessions, and the behavior shifted because the message was woven into everything that they did, not just dropped on them once a year and totally forgotten. And that exactly is what subliminal integration is. Subliminal integration is infusing this particular thing in every aspect of culture, so much so that it becomes a part of their lives. And that is the only thing that would work for data security or for compliance. And that is the only way organizations can get this right. So, if we're trying to make this permanent, we need to go away from one training a year or probably a couple of emails from IT. That is not going to work. You do not change culture with PowerPoint. You change it with repetition, reward, and role models.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think I agree with you on that. I have observed that most times in organizations where you see security culture being built, most of the employees, in fact, not most, all of the employees are carried along. And one of the things Esther rightly mentioned during our presentation was that some employees feel scared, like they feel afraid to express themselves when it comes to security trainings and things like that. So they get punished for clicking a phishing link or for, failing a security training. That does not promote a culture of, accountability. It does not promote a culture where people can
Yeah.
be free.
Mhm.
So, like you mentioned, the organization needs to be able to ensure that their incentives, basically, you can incentivize these security training programs. However way you want to do it now boils down to how you do your things in your organization. But of course, if their incentives, employees begin to see themselves as a team, and it's not longer a security problem, because what we see in organizations today is that they believe that the IT team is responsible for security. So they kind
Mhm.
of, like separate themselves from anything that has to do with security in the organization. But when they begin to see themselves integrated into the whole process, then they are more willing to contribute to the entire training, and of course that way you're able to build a more viable security culture. So Esther, what do you have to say to this? Do you have
Yeah, I okay, Esther.
Hi, Precious. Please go ahead. You can speak. I mean, that was why we brought you
Okay,
here.
I just wanted to touch on something. I wanted to touch on something that I just remembered as we were speaking, and I hope that I'm not using a lot of jargons, right? There's a particular I would call him a philosopher or a theorist. His name is About Bandura. Now, About Bandura talks about something we call social learning or behavioral modeling. Basically, it says that people do not learn primarily from instruction. They learn by watching others and by seeing what behaviors get noticed and rewarded. And so, if you want something to stick in an organization, you're not just going to train them. You are going to have them watch how this thing is done. And then you're going to have to reward people who do it right so that as they see this thing being done, then they also become conscious of it and they want to be a part of it. And so they learn because this is a part of the social culture that you're building in the organization. And then they model that same behavior and continue to do it. They become proof. Your safety champion, your security conscious employees become the proof that this is exactly how we want things to be done here.
Okay.
great,
I
great.
think I totally. Hi, Dami, are you speaking? Because I can hear you on one system, but I can't on the other. So I had to mute that one
She's not
to be
speaking.
able. Like it's been such a hassle for me. But yeah. So just to add to what Precious and Dami has said, it's about us knowing our roles and responsibilities, right? What is expected. So setting the expected behavior within the organization. And that is also, where we see people being rewarded for doing the right things, just like Precious mentioned, right? Sets the necessary the behavioral patterns that you want to see within organizations. And when, there are employees who are actively working in alignment with those expectations, then you start rewarding them just so that, other employees can adopt those behaviors as well and start basically spreading the awareness security culture. That's I think so I think we've got that covered. So yeah, we can move to the next question. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Esther. And just to like add a little bit to what Precious has also said regarding the training. So I think another aspect that we also need to look at, which I think Esther covered during our presentation also, is the fact that most of the security trainings that these organizations do sometimes do not resonate quite well with their employees. And I've worked with an organization where we did a research to see what exactly these employees actually get from these trainings, because currently right now in Nigeria most of the security trainings are usually imported from the Western countries, right? These are
Mhm.
SAT platforms. So most times they do not speak to the realities of the African society, right? And you hear them say, we want something that, we understand, maybe something that is in our own language, right?
Mhm.
It could be their native language. I think there was even a conversation that I had with a business leader, and they were like, if you could have trainings that were in Igbo or Pidgin, that would be very, very impactful, because the idea is that it's not just to train them. What you're aiming for is they are able to actually internalize what they've learned, and research has proven that people internalize when they are being taught or when they are being trained in their native languages, right? So one of the things that would also like to say is try to make the training very, very very interesting. The PowerPoints are like maybe 2010. I don't think anybody would sit through a PowerPoint presentation today. The human attention span is about like 8 seconds now, or maybe five
Mhm.
seconds now. So
Mhm.
we need to adapt to the realities of what we have today. So thank you so much. That was a very insightful response from Precious and Esther. So now I think we'd like to, look at the positive aspect, because the question we just answered looked more into what they were doing wrong. So um knowing fully well that you have worked in organizations, right? Um what has been your experience with organizations that you've seen that manage human risk well, and you be like, yeah, these people are actually getting it right? What is that one thing that separates them from everybody else, from organizations that are not paying attention to trainings?
Hmm. Um, Dami, I really hope I don't disappoint with this response, because I'm going to be very transparent with you. I don't think I've worked in an organization that has been quote and unquote perfect or close to even being perfect. Every place that I've been, there have been gaps, some more serious than others. But I think I've seen enough to know what those gaps cost when they are left unaddressed, and I have also seen what it looks like when they are addressed. I'm gonna give this true life scenario from an organization, and then I'm going to talk about what happens when it is managed well. I worked in an organization where inventory was managed on paper, and because the system, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Precious.
Okay. And because the system was manual and no one was watching closely, one salesperson was able to divert about 6 million naira in clients' payments over a period of time. Now the client kept paying, the company kept operating. No one knew until all the money was gone. Now I want you to understand that this was not even a sophisticated cybercrime. There was no hacking, no phishing, just a weak process and a person who decided to exploit the gap. And that really is what human risk is. The consequences don't necessarily come every day, but when they come really heavy. Now, organizations that do get this right, interestingly, what I've noticed is that yes, the technologically advanced ones also get it right. But many of the organizations that do get this right are not really the richest or the most technologically advanced. What separates these guys from the rest is that compliance is understood at every level of the team. Now, starting from leadership to the next level and to the next level, there is a cadence of understanding that works for these people. The rules are not a mystery to the junior staff. No, They understand why the process exists, which means that they are far less likely to find a reason to skip that process. And that is exactly what it takes from the human perspective. Now, I'm not talking about from technological infrastructure, but from the human perspective, what it takes to get it right and what it looks like to get it right is that everybody on that team understands that this is why we do this. This is why we do that. This is why we do not do this, and this is why we do not do that. This is why there is a friction where, and this is why this friction exists. You cannot scale a team that does not understand risk. And you definitely cannot grow leaders from people that cannot be trusted with process. Now, human risk management is basically a conversation that comes from growth, and it starts with these individuals as they come into the organization and as they grow within the ranks. The leaders understand, the mid-level managers understand, the entry-level staff understand. That's exactly what it looks like in an organization where this actually works.
Thank you. I think what I find really powerful about your response is that it's not coming from a technological aspect. You mentioned that it is a leadership and a cultural thing. And I think that is what surprises a lot of people when they come into conversations like this, expecting it to be told that they need a new software product or they need to invest in this technology and all of that. But the organizations that are genuinely resilient, like you have talked about, have made this a people decision from the get-go, from the start, from the top down. Everyone is involved. So the CISA alone cannot, build that culture. It has to come from everyone in the organization. Esther, do you have any contributions you want to make?
Okay. Hi, anyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So I think just like Precious has mentioned or rightly mentioned, right, it boils down to just for me roles and responsibilities. So speaking from the leadership to the middle management to everyone within just everyday normal stuff, right? We all have responsibilities when it comes to ensuring that there is a cybersecurity culture within an organization. So when a leader does what he's meant to do, then it's kind of like trickles down to the rest of the team members, right? So from the recent cybersecurity framework from CBN, it addresses cybersecurity as a leadership responsibility, right? So we are no longer excluding the people who should champion the cultural change, right? We are also bringing them in to ensure that from them, others can learn the right course of actions to take or the right behaviors when it comes to cybersecurity. So I think it's a thing where we have to also look at it from top to bottom, as usual, start from leadership, and then it goes down to just everyday normal staff and everyday employee within an organization.
From top to bottom.
Definitely.
Just to confirm, can Jami still hear us?
I can hear you.
Hello, Esther, are you there?
Hi, Tammy. I
Yes.
can hear you, or rather, I can hear you on my other system, but
Awesome. Thank you so much
this is
for
not
your
working on this one.
All right. Thank you so much, Esther, for that contribution. So we're running a little bit warm on time, so I want to keep us moving. But I think this next question deserves more, and it's something that we just have to talk about because that's basically like the essence of why our audience is here, right? So, Precious, I'd like to put it to you. Okay, for the people that are watching this right now, for the leaders in the room, um, from your perspective, from where you stand, what do you think is the most important thing an organization should do or should begin to do in the next 30 days if they want to start closing their human risk gap?
Hmm. Okay, that's a big question. Before I answer, I want to be I want to be very honest and open about something. What
Okay.
I'm going to tell you now is not going to close your human risk gap. What do I mean? 30 days will not close your human risk gap. I'm not going to sell you something that won't work. But 30 days will build you a foundation so solid that whatever comes after it actually works. And that foundation is really what I will talk about, right? What should you do in 30 days to close your human risk gap? Well, I think the first thing, and this is one of the most important things, is that you have to determine exactly what is the outcome that you want to achieve and make it specific. Don't just say, oh, we want better security awareness. That seems a lot like a wish. You want something specific that you can ask yourself, what do you want people to start doing? What do you want people to stop doing? And what do you want people to do differently? Name the behaviors. One of my bosses used to say we need to name the problem so we can address it. Name the behaviors, and that is where to start. Well, after you do this, expected behaviors. So each behavior becomes something that you can train towards. So you see, it helps you now to target your training. What exactly am I training for at this time? Then what exactly am I reinforcing? Some things you train for, some things you reinforce after the training. The overall outcome is the destination. The behaviors are the way to get there. Say, for example, what you want to do right now is that you want to ensure that people do not, quote and unquote, decide to use WhatsApp when they should use official company channels for correspondence. What do you want to do is how do you want to train and reinforce that behavior in 30 days? You build out that flow. Then sell it to your leadership. I always say something. When you build out what you want to do, you need to sell it to the leaders. One important theory I really love, I learned it when I was learning about communication, is something called two-step flow theory of communication. In every organization, in every social gathering, there are people who are opinion leaders. You want to sell to the opinion leaders because these opinion leaders will be the ones that will push these behaviors, push these ideas, push these opinions into every other person. So you sell it to your leadership, you sell it to your line managers before you cascade to the team. If your managers don't believe in it, they will not carry it. And if they do not carry it, it will die after the first session. So the message has to travel through these people who would own it so that you can deliver it directly to the people. Then obviously run training. In those first 30 days, you definitely have to run at least one or two trainings. You need to run training. Run training, and as you are running training, run cultural integration at the same time. At the beginning, when I started, I spoke about subliminal integration. You must integrate everything that you are training about into their processes. Come on, put it on their mugs, the office mugs that they used to drink coffee. Put it on the flash drives that you give to them. Let it be on their pen. Let it be in their emails. Let it be in conversations. Let it be in stand-up meetings. You want it to be inside of there. Let it be creatively inserted into everything that they do so that your training becomes a part of the culture. And then at the end of day 30, you have to make a test. In fact, I will say before the end of day 30, because you also want to test at a period of time when nobody is expecting. Do a spot check. See who can explain the protocol and see who cannot explain the protocol. See who, although I know employees hate this, see who clicks the phishing email or who doesn't click the phishing email. You want to find out what actually changed. So you know whether this behavior is coming in or you want to know what is the next set, next action. I'm going to close out by saying that, there's a particular change model that is very popular: unfreeze, change, and refreeze. In this model, what you train, right? And then how do you change? You introduce and reinforce new behavior through subliminal integration. And then how do you refreeze? You refreeze by what's the word now? By modeling proper behavior and then giving what's that? Consequence or not consequence this time around. Phew, incentive. Oh my god, I almost lost the word. Incentive for proper behavior. So in 30 days, I'm just going to go over it again, determine the outcome, and be specific about the outcome. Break it into a sequence of smaller expected behaviors. Sell it to your leadership and your line managers before you cascade to the team. Run training and cultural integration at the same time. And then test it either at day 30 or before day 30. That is what you need to do in 30 days.
Thank you so much, Precious. That was quite comprehensive. Esther, do you have anything you want to add to that before we close off? Because we are way behind time.
Okay. So sorry again for the break in transmission. But I think Precious did a good justice, like wonderfully well when it comes to actually explaining how organizations can go to it or can move from, just awareness trainings alone to actually building like a culture around these trainings and cybersecurity, right? So, like he rightly mentioned, it's a thing where it's like 30 days cannot cut it. But then with 30 days, you can build something that can last, for a lifetime within the organization. So, it's about setting KPIs. It's about building processes that ensure that those, objectives that you set are being met, and that at every time, we review these processes again and see what's working, what's not working, and ensure that also there is continuous improvement, right? Within, if a training is working, if it's not working, what can be done better to ensure that employees and the people that these trainings are tailored for also adopt those, the culture around those trainings that we are trying to pass across, right? And like he also mentioned, there is something about having the leadership back you for this kind of programs or this kind of initiatives, right? It makes everything faster, it makes everything not easier, but at least it gets people to buy into and to key into the idea. So when you see international standards, you name them, right? They start with leadership buying, right? If they don't buy in, you can't even get every other person to listen to you. So we have to start from the top as usual. It's a my thing. You have to start from the top because I've worked with organizations and I've seen that without leadership giving you their support, you are basically wasting your time, right? So we have to get the leadership to back you. We have to ensure that we have the goal in mind and what we are looking at achieving, and to ensure that those goals are smart as usual, and ensure that at the end of the day there is continuous improvement. So when we see what is working, we double up on them, and for processes and trainings that are not working, we go back to the drawing board and we see how we can basically improve those processes and those trainings to ensure that basically we are at the end of the day achieving the goals that we've set. So I think that's all I can add at the moment. I would like to say right now, but I think Precious, you did a wonderful job, I must say. I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't have explained it better. And I think a lot of our audience are currently actually rethinking whatever they're doing at the moment that is not right. So thank you so much. And yeah, over to you, Dan.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Esther. I was going to add that as well because this has been genuinely very insightful. So, if you are a leader in your organization or you work in an organization and you believe there's some things that you need to start implementing, you can do well to, of course, share the recording with your, colleagues or whoever is in charge, right? Who can buy into security trainings or buy into building a more um, secure culture in your organization. So, Precious, Esther, this has been one of the most convincing and genuinely one of the richest conversations that I have had in a while. And I want to thank you both so much. And I know that our audience has taken a lot from what you've shared with us. I know I have as well. I mean, my notes is really full. So after this, webinar, I'm going to have to go through it again. So thank you so much. And I also want to genuinely thank Precious, of course, our wonderful guest speaker. It has been very, very um insightful in his conversation. So if you want to connect with Precious, because we don't have much time, I'm trying to look at if we have questions in the chat. I don't think we do right now, but we are way beyond time. So if you have questions and you want to connect with our guest speaker, Precious Mogaji, Onyinye would be dropping his LinkedIn page on the chat. So you can do so to connect with Precious. You can as well follow us on our LinkedIn page. We will also be dropping the link to that as well. And do not forget to, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're, working so hard to bring out contents that are very transformative and impactful. So, thank you all so much for taking time out to be here today on a Saturday. This really means a lot. We've covered a lot this morning, from the data to the threat landscape, the culture conversation with Precious, and all of it points to the same place, that a lot of organizations know that they have a gap. But the question is not whether they need to close it. The question is how quickly they can afford to wait. So, at Go to Cyber, we work with organizations across Africa to move them from awareness training, which we now know is not longer enough, right, to a full human risk management program that is now measurable, specific to their industry, and built around actual threats that the team faces. So I did mention that we have something special, and for those who stayed till the end, we will be giving a free assessment, a complimentary 30-minute one-on-one advisory call or an advisory debrief with our team. This is not going to be a sales call, it's a genuine conversation about your organization specifically. And that offer is only available to those who stayed to the end. So we'll be reaching out to you. We have your email addresses, and you can also send us a DM on LinkedIn if you want to take advantage of this offer. All right. Thank you so much. We are so grateful once again. And with that, I will be closing off. Esther, do you have any final statements to our audience?
Yeah, I do. I mean, they've been wonderful. It's not, the best day to actually be sitting down to listen to three people talk about cybersecurity awareness, right? So, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sticking to the end. Like Dami mentioned, this is Easter period. You're probably on holiday, but we took out time to come listen because, I mean, I believe that this is an important topic for everyone who wants to, basically improve what they already have within their organization, or to set a culture that will last a lifetime, right? So thank you so much for joining us. Do well to, reach out to us. We also run awareness trainings, and not just anyhow awareness trainings. We run awareness trainings that also improve culture within the organization. So that is why, Go to Cyber exists in the first place. So do well to reach out to us, and we'll be sure to tailor whatever trainings that we'll be carrying out to what you have within the organization, and basically the problems or that you are facing within your organization. So thank you so much, and do have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you so much, Esther. So I think that wraps it up. On behalf of Go to Cyber, I, Esther, and Onyenye, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and we will see you again soon. Bye.